Welcome to deep space. The Malaysian flight is one of the most mysterious incidents in modern aviation history. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 disappeared while en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, with 239 people on board. Despite significant international efforts to search for the aircraft, debris was not found until long after, raising many questions about what happened. Before the departure of Malaysian Airlines flight MH370, passengers gathered at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, where the atmosphere was filled with excitement and anticipation. Many were discussing their plans in Beijing while the flight crew prepared to welcome them aboard. The boarding process went smoothly, with the crew greeting passengers with smiles and wishing them a pleasant journey. The aircraft, a Boeing 777, was known for its safety and comfort. Once all passengers were on board, the doors of the plane were closed and preparations for takeoff began. Prior to the flight, the crew conducted final checks to ensure the aircraft's safety and confirmed that all necessary equipment was in place. Everything seemed normal, and everyone looked forward to an enjoyable flight. At 12:41 a.m., the plane took off from the runway, but what awaited them afterward was beyond anyone's imagination. After the departure of Malaysian Airlines flight MH370, everything went smoothly at first. The plane took off from Kuala Lumpur and soared into the sky, with passengers enjoying the stunning views below. In the cockpit, the pilot and crew were fully focused, monitoring the systems and preparing to reach the desired cruising altitude. Approximately 38 minutes into the flight, the pilot communicated with air traffic control. This was the last time anyone heard from the aircraft. Suddenly, communication was lost, and there were no alerts or distress signals. The plane began to change its course, which was later indicated on radar screens. Instead of continuing toward Beijing, the aircraft veered west, heading toward the Indian Ocean. This unexpected movement raised alarms in the control tower, prompting heightened concern. Within hours, what began as a routine flight transformed into one of the biggest mysteries in aviation history. Search and rescue efforts commenced soon after, but with no trace of the plane, questions began to mount. What exactly happened next? As the hours passed after losing contact with Malaysian Airlines flight MH370, anxiety began to rise among the families of the passengers. Initially, relatives waited anxiously at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, hoping for a logical explanation for what had happened. But as time went on, without any news, information began to leak to the press. Early reports indicated that the plane was missing, but it was still unclear if an accident had occurred. Journalists began covering the story, which heightened the tension and emotions among the families. Meanwhile, the Malaysian government arranged meetings with the relatives, informing them that the aircraft had lost contact. However, the news was vague, and authorities were unable to provide accurate details. This led to confusion and worry, as families sought any information or updates about their loved ones. As time passed, the news spread globally, and the story became a major focus for media outlets. Major news channels began broadcasting reports about the flight, covering the ongoing search efforts and the challenges authorities faced in trying to locate the aircraft. The families were deeply affected, with feelings of sadness and anxiety intensifying with each moment that passed without news. Some families began to call for transparency from the authorities, demanding clarity about what was happening. It was a difficult day for everyone, as hope turned into growing concern while eyes turned toward the Indian Ocean in search of any sign of the plane. Search operations for Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 began immediately after communication was lost. In the initial days, efforts focused on the area surrounding the aircraft's presumed flight path, with planes and ships from various countries dispatched to assist in the search. On the ground, rescue teams worked tirelessly, utilizing advanced technologies to locate the missing aircraft. Every inch of the Indian Ocean was meticulously examined, but despite the massive efforts, no trace of the plane was found. As time passed, investigations expanded. Investigators used radar data and aircraft tracking systems to analyze the flight path taken by the plane after losing contact. It became evident that the aircraft had deviated west instead of heading directly to Beijing, raising numerous questions about what had occurred. Pilot logs and passenger information were scrutinized as investigators sought to gather any possible evidence to understand what happened. The theories ranged from technical malfunctions to the possibility of hijacking, but no conclusive evidence emerged. Over time, some debris began to surface on shorelines, including a piece of the aircraft found on Réunion Island in 2015. This discovery sparked some hope of locating the rest of the plane, but it did not reveal the full details of what transpired that mysterious night. The search operations continued for an extended period, with millions of dollars invested by multiple countries. However, as years went by, the search became increasingly challenging, with a vast area needing to be covered, yet no new evidence surfaced. These operations reflect the collective international efforts and the significant challenges faced by investigators in attempting to solve the mystery of Flight MH370, which continues to evoke curiosity and questions to this day. Let's explore the hypotheses that spark debate. First, there's the hypothesis of technical failure. Could a sudden malfunction have occurred without any warning? How could such an advanced aircraft disappear so easily? Next, we consider the possibility of terrorism. Was the plane a target of a planned attack? The evidence is lacking, but the suspicions remain. If we look at the chance of hijacking, some wonder, was there someone on board planning something horrific? What motivations could drive someone to do that? But we can't ignore the idea of human error. The psychological pressure may have influenced the crew's decisions. Did they make a fatal mistake? Or perhaps there were psychological issues with the pilot. Was he struggling with internal conflicts that led to a tragic decision? Weather changes could also have played a role. Were there storms threatening the flight? How could the plane lose control in adverse weather conditions? And what about military interventions? Were there unannounced activities in the area that led to this mysterious disappearance? Finally, we might face communication issues. How could a modern aircraft suddenly vanish from the world's radars? Each hypothesis carries with it an intriguing story, and each one opens the door to new questions. The mystery still surrounds this incident, and investigations are ongoing. In conclusion, the disappearance of Malaysian flight MH370 remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in aviation history. Each hypothesis carries its own stories and perspectives, and every idea may open new doors to understanding. We may not find definitive answers, but the hope of uncovering the truth remains alive. Thank you for joining us, and we invite you to stay tuned as we explore more thrilling mysteries in the future. Remember, every enigma holds a secret waiting to be revealed. Until next time.